Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh, and this is your fourth stimulus package and news update. We have a lot of news to get into in today's video, but first, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull valued up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so yesterday, key Democratic Senator Joe Manchin said he believed there would be a deal on the framework of the Build Back Better plan by the end of this week. And this is pretty huge news considering that not long ago, he said that it would be a good amount of time before reaching any type of an agreement. This means, at least in Manchin's eyes, they must be getting a good bit closer. Of course, being that Manchin's top line number is still $1.5 trillion, and he's opposed to expanding Medicare, one of Bernie Sanders' red lines, it's hard seeing how they can make a deal happen. Here was Joe Manchin yesterday, once again reiterating the fact that he's still opposed to the expansion of Medicare.
Senator, what are the chances of a deal this week?
As far as conceptually, we should. I really believe it'll, and just have a lot of good faith
So
in
do
it.
you think there'll be a framework agreement
I think
this
the framework should be, really should be.
week? Are you open to expanding Medicare at this point?
My big concern right now is the 2026 deadline that we have insolvency. And if no one's concerned about that, and I've got people that's a lifeline. Medicare and Social Security is a lifeline to people back in West Virginia and most people around the country. And you've got to stabilize that first before you look at basically expansion. So if we're not being fiscally responsible, that's really concerning. Let me make one statement to you all. The best way to know who I am, and I've always been politically, in my political life, I've always said that I believe that government should be your best partner, but it shouldn't be your provider.
1.75 too much for top lines. 1.75 too much.
I'm still 1.5, guys.
So, as you just heard, Manchin believes they will have a framework agreed to by the end of this week, despite the fact that he and progressive Democrats still have a good bit of differences. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also showed optimism on Monday, saying that they are now on track to pass the Build Back Better plan very soon.
On Build Back Better. We had a productive weekend as we continue to close in on a final agreement for President Biden's Build Back Better plan. Yesterday morning, I traveled to Delaware to meet with the President and Senator Manchin about our agenda. It was a very good meeting, and I thank the President for his leadership. And I also thank my colleagues in both chambers for their shared commitment to getting this consequential and desperately needed legislation across the finish line. No one ever said passing transformational legislation like this would be easy, but we are on track to get this done because it's so important, and it is what the American people need and what they want. The progress of last week illustrated if we stick together, work towards finding that legislative sweet spot, then we can get big things done for the American people. I yield the floor.
The Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, wasn't quite as enthusiastic as his Democratic counterpart, accusing the Democrats of a harebrained scheme.
Hikes in 50 years, the biggest peacetime tax hikes ever recorded in American history. That is what Washington Democrats are cooking up. Our Democratic colleagues and President Biden are behind closed doors dreaming up creative new ways to grab literally historic amounts of the American people's money. Remember, the same socialist spending plans that Democrats claim cost $0 somehow also need staggering new tax hikes to pay for them. So even with significant inflation, runaway gas prices, and runaway energy costs already hitting American families in their pocketbooks, Washington Democrats have spent months dreaming up new cash grabs for the IRS. Democrats have talked about massively hiking business taxes to a level that would leave American industries paying more than their competitors in communist China. They've talked about jacking up marginal income tax rates in ways that would hammer small businesses and family businesses that file as pass-throughs. They've talked about adding a second death tax to give the IRS an even bigger bite out of family farms. They've even promised something that our country has never seen before, a new IRS surveillance dragnet where the IRS would get to track ordinary citizens' inflows and outflows. Banks and credit unions would be forced to hand over Americans' private information to the IRS. The Democrats are so desperate to shake down the American people for money that they're proposing to essentially treat everybody like they're under audit. For months now, our Democratic colleagues have been toying with one staggering tax increase after another. We've seen one disappointing jobs report after another, one historic inflation report after another, but Democrats are still convinced that the biggest peacetime tax hikes on record in American history are just what the doctor ordered. As one news report explained, the scramble has opened the door to potential tax proposals that progressives could only have dreamed of, just dreamed of a few years ago. The far left is officially calling the shots, and that's where the latest new craziness comes into the picture. If public reporting has it right, the Democrats are so desperate to raise taxes that they're now proposing to tax money the American people haven't even made yet. Let me say that again. They're now proposing to tax money the American people haven't even made yet. Yes, you heard me right. So much for the quaint idea that you had to actually make money first before the IRS could tax it. Now Democrats want to tax money you haven't made yet. There are already capital gains taxes that Americans pay when they cash out an investment, when they sell what they've been holding and realize actual gains. Now Democrats want to go much further and tax certain citizens just because their holdings have gone up in value, regardless of whether they have actually sold them and made any money. And get this, in parallel with taxing people on hypothetical gains they haven't realized, they apparently also want to hand out tax breaks for hypothetical losses that people haven't realized. So they want to tax gains they haven't realized and hand out tax breaks for losses people haven't realized. This harebrained scheme would have the IRS penalizing people who've invested wisely and compensating people who've invested poorly, all independent of whether they have actually made or lost any money. This harebrained scheme would have the IRS penalizing people who've invested wisely and compensating people who've invested poorly, all independent of whether they've actually made or lost any money.
Okay, so in some other news, while some states and cities have had their own stimulus check programs, Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis is planning on signing legislation that would give a $5,000 bonus for unvaccinated police officers all around the country who relocate to Florida just for work. Since many police departments around the country, such as those in Minneapolis, Seattle, and New York, are now requiring their workers to be vaccinated in order to keep their jobs, DeSantis is looking to bring them in and compensate them in a pretty good way. Also, to counteract the amendment in the Build Back Better plan that could allow for the IRS to spy on bank accounts like yours and mine, Republicans in the Senate have introduced a new piece of legislation called the Prohibiting IRS Financial Surveillance Act. What this would essentially do is prevent the IRS from spying on U.S. bank accounts, even if it were to go through. Chuck Grassley, a Republican senator in Iowa, says the information that Democrats are seeking is a complete invasion of privacy. So let me know in the comment section below, is this a bill that you would like to go through, or do you believe that the IRS should have the rights to spy on American bank accounts? Okay, and so the final story of today's video, we have Joe Biden visiting an elementary school where he jokes with students, saying he has to figure out how to avoid answering questions when he's president.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me come in your classroom. Appreciate it. And Mr. President, you got to talk to me about the presidency. You know, when you're president, see all these people here? They're with you all the time. They get to ask you all kinds of questions, and you try to figure out how you can avoid answering them sometimes.
Just a joke, but he has learned it pretty well.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Why do you continue to trust the Taliban, Mr. President? Why do you continue to trust their pledges, Mr. President?
One more question, Mr. President.
Okay, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive a couple of free stocks from Webull, make sure to quickly claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. To receive the first stock, you will need to fully open an account. Then to receive the second free stock, which will be valued up to $2,000, you'll need to make a qualifying deposit of at least $5. And even if you aren't all that interested in investing or continuing to invest at this point in time, you can always sell the free stocks that you receive and transfer that money, however much they're worth, right back to your bank account. So free stocks or free money is completely up to you. So once again, I hope everyone has a great and safe rest of their day, and I'll see you in the next video.